I'm Annette Rose. Hey, I'm Annette Rose. Welcome back to Annette Rose TV. You're here for episode 2 of the Taking Charge of Your Financial Future for Women. If you're a man, it's okay, but the series is focused at women. Alright, so in this episode we are going to be talking about 2 important topics to do with taking charge of your financial future. The first of those is going to be about goal setting, which is obviously a very important thing for us to do. And then secondly, we're actually going to be talking about who handles the money in your house. So again, it is very important to work through that issue. Okay, so first up, we're going to talk about your financial goals, and I guess I should just give a quick shout out and say don't forget, if you haven't actually done the work from the first episode, that is something that you do need to do. So head over to rosebeauty.com.au and pick up your workbook from the tools section on the website, because we are going to need that in the coming episodes. So, but it's okay, we're not going to need it today. Alrighty, so let's talk about goal setting. Goal setting could probably take up a whole video in its own right. That's probably the first thing, but we're just going to spend a really short amount of time so that you can understand how to set goals that are goals that you can actually achieve, goals that you actually stay on track with, and goals that you're motivated around, because obviously all those things are important. So you can see up here I've written on my little board that one of the ways that we can actually set goals is to use what's called the SMART method. Now SMART goals actually stands for this. So the S stands for specific, the M stands for measurable, the A stands for achievable or attainable, the R stands for relevant, and the T stands for timely. So let's kind of work through an example. So let's say I actually wanted to go to Bali for a holiday, right? So that's my goal. Now that is a good goal. It's actually very specific. So I want to go to Bali and I want to go on a holiday. Okay, so that's my goal. Now, the next thing that we might want to actually say about that is we might want to set a time frame, because that's actually going to help us. So I want to go to Bali on a holiday, and I want to do that in 12 months' time. Okay, and I know that in order to book that holiday, I actually need $5,000. Okay, this is just an example. That would probably be a very expensive holiday to Bali if you were spending $5,000 from Australia, I should say. All right, so what's really great about this goal is that we've actually set a very specific goal, and we've set ourselves a time frame, and we've set ourselves an amount. Now what that actually means is that those things are measurable. So can we measure time? Yes, we can. Can we measure the amount of money that we're actually managing to save towards that goal? Yes, we can. All right. So the next part of our SMART goal setting is to actually determine if it's achievable or not. So I guess really this comes down to you and how much money you're earning as to whether this is achievable or not. And it's pretty straightforward to work this out. So if in 12 months I want to go on a holiday to Bali and I need $5,000 to book that, it's a pretty straightforward exercise to say how much money I would need to save every month. So we can work that out pretty easily, and I think it's, I don't know, somewhere around $400 to $450 a month that I would have to be saving. Okay, so if that is achievable for you on the salary that you have and the expenses that you have, then that's fantastic. If it isn't, and this is one of the reasons why we do this, you really need to go back and say one of 2 things needs to change here. Either I need to spend less money on my holiday, or I need to save for longer. So that's the importance of actually doing that achievable step. Let's say it is achievable though, on the salary that I'm earning at the moment. I'm going to use my side gig to fund my holiday to Bali. Is it relevant? Well, look, setting goals that aren't relevant is a little bit pointless because you won't be motivated to actually achieve it. I'm going to say that me going on a holiday to Bali would be pretty relevant, but just take a little moment of reflection and go, am I saving for something that I actually really want? Am I going to get some focus on this or not? Okay, so I'm going to say that yes, it's completely relevant. I could do with some relaxation. Now, in terms of something actually being timely, what you're wanting to do here is to actually measure your achievements on a regular basis, okay? So the timely piece is about saying, what are the deadlines that I can set myself throughout this time period of saving to firstly reward myself. So rewarding yourself is important because then you'll be more motivated to achieve your goals. And in a time frame that actually allows me to achieve something. So if I was saving for this holiday over 12 months, I would probably try and measure that quarterly. So I would say every quarter I want to check in and see how much money I've managed to save. Ideally, it would be somewhere around this target. And I would also try and set myself a little reward. So maybe as a reward in the first quarter, I'm going to buy myself a bikini. Actually, I probably wouldn't be buying myself a bikini because let's face it, there's a little bit too much going on around the midriff. But whatever your goal is, you want to actually reward yourself for achieving that. And then you can get going on the next part of your savings goal. All right, so that is a little bit about SMART goals. Very good. All right, so now that you've got that little methodology in mind, we're going to put this to the test with some bigger financial goals. So in thinking about your financial future, there's one big glaring thing that we will come back to as a theme, and that is actually retirement. Now, what we did in our exercise last week was we looked at the aha moment and said, how long is the time period that I actually have left? And that's that little slice of time there for me. Yours will obviously be different. How long do I actually have left to save for my retirement? And if I was retiring at 60, there's every likelihood that I'm actually going to need that money to last me for over 20 years. That's a really long time. So this is a goal that you really do need to be putting some thought into and making sure that you're actually going to be in good shape. So let's just have a little think then about retirement. And in terms of thinking about goals, how much money do I actually want to be able to have available to me per month when I'm in retirement? Okay, so this is your super goal, okay? And we want to know how much I want to have available per month in retirement. Now, in order to actually come up with this goal, you need to do some thinking about a few key things. So you need to think about how you want to live. You need to think about where you want to live. You need to think about whether you will be traveling. You need to ensure that you've got a bit of a rainy day fund so that if anything goes wrong, probably medical as we get older, you're actually in a position to do something about it. And then, of course, you want to think about your little luxuries. So have a go at thinking about those things. The workbook is really going to help you on this. When I sat down and looked at this, my husband and I have actually done this exercise together to say how much money would we want to be able to live on per month in retirement. But I actually really want you to think about this for yourself. So imagine at this point in time that you don't have a partner to worry about. How much money do you individually anticipate that you're going to need per month? And let's get a number in there. All right. So the second thing that actually needs to feed into this is for you to just have a little think about what age you believe you're going to retire. And I know we talked about this last week because what I want you to do is to say actually how many years do you have left available to actually earn money between now and when you retire, okay? And I want to see a specific number of years in here ready for our superannuation chat when we have it in a couple of episodes' time. Okay, now that's great, that's retirement. Hopefully there's a few years between now and retirement, and I want you to actually just stop and think about setting some other goals, okay? So I want you to think about a rainy day fund. Okay, now the rule of thumb for a rainy day fund is that it should be at least 6 months expenses in a regular month for you that you actually have stashed away in your rainy day fund that you do not touch, okay? And again, we'll talk more about why that should be 6 months when we come on to the insurance part of our series, okay? I want you to think about holidays, okay? Holidays are good for the soul, even if they're just little ones, even if they're not expensive and they're local. Have a think about how many holidays you're going to have between now and when you retire. Even if you're 30, even if you're 25, you need to be thinking about saving for holidays because putting things on credit cards all the time or leaving yourself exposed with overdrafts is not a great responsible way to live your life. So let's think about what kind of savings you might need to have in place for holidays. Okay, and then let's also have a think about kids. I don't know, I've got 3 of them, so they're pretty expensive. But if you do have kids, you might have an aspiration to actually support them through university. You might not. You might be thinking about giving them a lump sum when they leave home. Whatever it is that you're thinking about. So this is not the day-to-day expense. This is a lump sum amount that you might need to support your children in the future. So you're thinking here about, university. You're thinking about gap years. You're thinking about all those types of things that you might want to be saving towards. So let's get a lump sum amount in there, if that's one of your goals. And then finally, we should be thinking about major purchases, okay? So this would be things like, am I thinking about buying a house? So do I need a deposit? It might be that I actually have a plan to upgrade my car every 2 or 3 years. So actually I need some money in there for cars. Whatever it might be that you're thinking about investing in or buying as a lump sum. So these are major purchases over $5,000. That's the kind of things that I want you to put in there. Okay, I am going to give you some space in your workbook to actually write these out, and we are going to come back to these, but for now, that was really what I wanted to achieve on the goal setting. All right, so smiley face there, thank you. So what we're going to move on to now is we're just going to move on to a little awkward topic, which is about who actually manages the money in your house. Now, you might be thinking, why is that important, and why would we be talking about that on a series like this? Well, I guess that there is actually a cold hard reality here, which is that if you are in a partnership with somebody, so whether you're married or whether you're not married, if you are sharing the finances, if that person is not looking after everything for you and you are fully aware and you know what's happening with everything, then that's great. You can probably pause the video here. If you are in a situation where actually you don't really deal with the money, you don't pay the bills, you don't have access to bank accounts, I would think that's reasonably infrequent these days, but it's possible. If you don't know what insurance policies you have in place, there's a whole list of questions that actually really come to the forefront when something unthinkable happens. So if you suffer the death of your partner, if somebody becomes very, very ill, if they leave you and you are left in a situation where you actually don't have access to any of the finances, life is going to become very difficult very quickly, and that is not a situation that I would want to see anybody in. So the reason I ask this question is because I actually genuinely believe that women should be equal partners in understanding and operating the finances of any household. That's my fundamental belief. Now, obviously, if you're single, you don't have kids, it's you looking after it, that's brilliant. If you're not, though, here are some of the things that I actually really think that you need to attend to. So you need to have access to all of the bank accounts. You need to understand and be a person that is listed on those bank accounts, and you need to be what's called a joint signatory. Okay, I'm not going to get into tax, so if you are receiving tax advice, if you have a financial advisor and they're taking care of all of that, this video is probably not for you. If you are not in that situation and you're just dealing with your finances personally and yourselves, I would suggest that you do absolutely need to be a signatory on all of your accounts. Okay, you definitely need to know the passwords. So when it comes to internet banking, when it comes to the ability to access and transfer money, you need to be in knowledge of all of those passwords and all of those bank accounts. And I guess the last thing is something that we're going to touch on when we come to the savings part of things. But ideally, each partner in a relationship ought to have their own savings account that they can access in the event that something happens. And it's not just women, this is for men as well. I would encourage you to be able to have joint affairs if you're in a partnership, but also to actually have a separate account and a separate place that you are saving into, both of you, each week, each fortnight, or each month. That means that if something does happen, you are always in a position where you have access to money and you are not going to find yourself in a very awkward situation of not being able to actually survive and having to call on other people to give you money in the event that something happens. Okay, so that's kind of really it. We have reached the end of episode 2. I think this one was pretty light and easy. What you do need to do though is make sure that you've done the homework from both of these episodes, so episode 1 and episode 2. That is really important. And you can actually find those resources in the tools section on rosebeauty.com.au, so that's pretty straightforward. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, because then you'll know when the next video is being uploaded. And the next time I see you, we're actually going to have a heart-to-heart about the life that you want to live in retirement, and how are we actually going to make plans so that you can live the life that you want to live in retirement now and for the next few years, so that everything is exactly how you want it to be. Alrighty, don't forget to subscribe, like my YouTube channel, head over to Rose Beauty, check out the tools section, check out the blogs, and I will see you next time on Rose TV. Thanks for watching.